Alright, as I get started, I got a deluxe pack to open up. Let's see. Poplio, Execute, Jump Pluff, and Chuckle. For some reason, I just think of Dorkly's Shuckle. Hey, it's time for Shuckle's evolution. Shuckle's evolving into a Shuckle Trio. Yeah, shut the hell up. Hey guys, it's Shuckle. Alright, let's boot up the Wii. And there we go. That should be good enough. Alright, so our goal tonight, I would like to beat this game. I don't know if we can, because we still got 4 worlds left, but, you know, we'll at least get through 2, maybe 3. I don't know, I don't think the last world's that long. And once we beat it, we're done. You know, I'm moving on to whatever the next thing is. If I had to guess, the next thing we're doing is Kirby's Epic Yarn. Because I have not played Kirby's Epic Yarn, I don't know, probably since like sometime during the Wii U era. So probably like 2014, 2015. I like Kirby's Epic Yarn. I bought it on release. I was a big fan of it. Despite, you know, its middling reviews. Because, you know, some people had a full-on, like, existential breakdown over Epic Yarn. That, oh, the game was too easy. And it drove them into, like, complete panic. Yeah, the Wii era was weird. But, you know, I've always found the game fun. While Epic Yarn may be easy, I remember 100%ing it could actually be, like most Kirby games. Beating a Kirby game is easy. 100%ing it can be a bitch and a half. So, I don't think we'll be 100%ing it, obviously. Mainly because I don't want to do all those fucking mini-games. There's a bunch of like, oh, find the hidden person, spot the sneak. You know, do shit like that. Which, if it was like a Switch port, then yeah, I'd probably be talking a different tune. But because it's, you know, on the 3DS, or because it's on the Wii, I don't want to deal with that. But instead we're going to play New Super Mario Bros. And I'm not 100% in this one either. We're literally just playing until we beat the game. Well, I do think this game probably gets a bad rap. I honestly think all the New Super Mario games probably get a bad rap. Because they're New Super Mario Bros. Games. They are perfectly fine games that, you know, just happen to be a little repetitive. They revitalized the franchise, but that kinda came at a cost. And some people don't like that cost. Shit. I see that box down there, and it's like, I kinda want to break it. Well, that's gonna be a whole thing. We might try again. Yeah, everything comes at a cost. And, yeah, we'll see. Other things we've got. So, tonight, I only have 2 news stories. There's the whole Close to You thing, which, obviously, we have to talk about. Because what a wild 2 days that was. Kinda 3, we got explanation on the 3rd, but fuck it, you know, people are mad. One of the many reasons people are mad at Nintendo right now is that they're not being weird enough. Nintendo got weird this week. I don't think that's enough to make them likable by any means. I think people are going to continue to be mad at them. But, you know, it was a wild week. At least a couple days. So we're definitely going to talk about that. Then after that, we got an update on one of the big indie games coming out this year. Most of the big indie games have kind of already released, but there's at least one more I'm looking forward to. And we got an update on that. And then that just takes us to WIBE. You know, we got some Legos. More Silksong stuff. We've got, I did watch the Batman. I know last week I didn't. Yeah, I did get around to watching it. And then I actually read Dungeon Crawler Carl. I know, we were talking about them at basically like a book a week for a while. And then when we got to book 6, I just kind of stopped. And now here we are, book 7 came out a few weeks ago. It's been on audio for a while, but, like the physical book came out. And I finally sat down and finished book 6. I finished The Eyes of the Bedlam Bride after like multiple months. So we'll talk about that. And then I have started The Inevitable Ruin. That's not close enough. Okay, that works. I don't think I have any food stuff or anything like that. We got a movie, a Lego, 2 video game, and 2 book. So I guess let's just kind of get into it, So earlier in the week, on Tuesday, Nintendo randomly drops a video. Now, I found out about this, I was at work. I had gotten to work, I get there, and I'm like, okay, first thing, while I'm waiting for everything to start up, let me check my notifications, see what's going on Twitter and whatnot. Like most mornings. And while I'm checking my notifications, I see a Nintendo Today notification. Nintendo's little stupid news app. And usually that means something, because you really only get like the push notifications when they're trying to do something. And it's like, hey, check out this new video called Close to You. And I'm like, okay, I'll take a minute. It's like a 3-4 minute video. Sure, let's watch it. The video is this weird thing where there's like a baby who's left alone, and all of a sudden like the blocks start moving, the rattle starts moving, and before you know it, it's like, oh, the pacifier is moving. And it starts chasing the baby's pacifier. And it gets like flung onto the cabinets and everything. Eventually it gets shot across the room, and the baby takes its first steps trying to get to this pacifier. It's supposed to be, this cute little short. And yeah, to that end, it was cute, I guess. I called it, when I watched it at the time on Twitter, I called it a not Pixar short. Because that's kind of what it reminds me of. It reminds me of like what we'd see in a Pixar short, but obviously it's not Pixar. This is Nintendo. Now, when I started watching the video, my first thought was My Mario. If you don't remember, this was a story, a few months ago, where Nintendo announced that they are making baby toys. Because, Nintendo always gets accused of making games for babies, because, again, the internet only has like a handful of jokes. So, Nintendo gets accused of making baby games, so eventually they just took that to heart and actually made a baby game called My Mario, and it kind of reminds me, it's like the Super Mario 64 title screen, but but it's this little baby game. You can buy like the set of like wooden blocks that are also amiibo that, you know, the kids can play with. And my first thought was like, oh, this is My Mario. You know, this is like an actual ad for it. I did not think of the Super Mario Galaxy movie. A lot of people thought Super Mario Galaxy movie. And I was like, nah, it's not Super Mario Galaxy movie. My second thought was Pikmin. Because if you listen, once the blocks start, like after the mom leaves the room and the blocks start moving, they play a little jingle. That's the Pikmin motif. You know, if you go and boot up Pikmin 4 or, you know, go on the Nintendo Music app, that little music, the title screen song, is basically the song they play in this. So I was like, okay, this is a Pikmin thing. If you look at like how the pacifier's moving, it's like, oh, it's just Pikmin, but you know, you just can't see the Pikmin. And then people on Twitter pointed out like, hey, you know, if you know Pikmin lore, according to Pikmin Bloom, which I'll be honest, I completely forgot about because, you know, it's Pikmin Bloom. According to Pikmin Bloom, Pikmin are invisible to the human eye. So it would make sense if we're like following the baby's perspective, they wouldn't see the Pikmin, they would just see the pacifier moving. That makes perfect sense. So obviously the Pikmin thing, yeah, I can see that as well, specifically from the music. I was like 99% sure it was Pikmin. Of course, there was all these other things, you know, people noticed that there was like underneath the baby's crib, there was something moving, and it's like, okay, that's a Pikmin. I know people was it Andre at Game Explains, was like, hey, look at the colors. Those are the 3 Pikmin colors. There were like multiple cases. So yeah, I totally saw that. I thought it was Pikmin. I know Arlo, who also, you know, big Pikmin enjoyer, came to the exact same conclusions I did. Actually, he put out a video that was like, hey, let's count every Pikmin. And he noticed some things I did. Like, there are certain things in the background, besides for, like, the one moving under the crib. There are other moments where you can see, like, blocks and whatnot moving. And I was like, oh, okay, that's neat. I didn't notice that the first time. The thing I noticed that I didn't see many people talking about was the baby has like a rattle. Now, when I think of a rattle, I think of like a ball on a stick with like beads in it. Nothing more complicated than that. But this baby's rattle it's like a cylinder it's a white cylinder with like blue on the top and the bottom and like a design on it. I've never seen a rattle like that before. Like maybe that's a Japanese rattle. The only other time I can think of a rattle that kind of looks like that is Pikmin 4. There's a treasure in Pikmin 4 you get in the Blossoming Arcadia. I know exactly where it is even, because I think it's part of the speedrun. You get it from killing the Mamuda in the Blossoming Arcadia. And it's called the Shake-a-Smile. And it's a rattle with basically the same design. The only difference is it's red in Pikmin, and the handle is different. Like, the handle is like golden. It's like a golden thing that you can grab onto. Whereas in the short, it's just like a straight line. But other than that, it's basically the same design. So that was another thing that, you know, I immediately noticed that I didn't really see anybody else talking about, but I think is still relevant. So what about the Galaxy people? Well, the Galaxy people, they thought like, oh, this baby has blonde hair and blue eyes. And you know who else has blonde hairs and blue eyes? Rosalina. And San Diego Comic-Con, or New York Comic-Con, I mean, is this week. And we get movie trailers at New York Comic-Con. Specifically, the original Mario Bros. Movie trailer was at New York Comic-Con. You know, we were playing Splatoon when it was revealed. So it's very possible that tomorrow, or I guess Sunday, we're going to get a Mario movie trailer. I mean, we got a Marvel trailer today. We got our first look at Invincible Season 4. You know, we're already starting to get stuff. So I think a Mario movie trailer is totally possible. And a lot of people looked at the short and was like, oh, this is Baby Rosalina. I don't think anything else besides for, you know, the baby's hair and eye color really gave me Rosalina vibes, especially when, sadly, we know what baby Rosalina looks like. But, you know, that's just semantics at that point. But I was, just from the music, I was like, this is for sure Pikmin. So that's what we were going off of on Tuesday. Because another thing, there was no description in this video. There was no description, comments were turned off. There was no way to do anything with this. We just had that one little bit of we had the video and nothing else. Nintendo didn't say anything. This is a very Nintendo move. Nintendo, you know, they've been playing it very safe with the Switch 2. Much to their own detriment, I'm gonna be honest. Nintendo's the weird company. Them playing it safe isn't what Nintendo normally does. But, you know, they've been playing it safe. So this is a very weird thing for Nintendo to do. So we then cut 24 hours later. You know, I'm heading to work, I'm at work, same thing. Let me check notifications. Hey, Nintendo Today app, close to you. And it releases again, and it's got Pikmin in it. It's the exact same short as the day before, but this time it includes Pikmin. It's got, you know, it's basically, I would guess there's 100 different Pikmin in this short. I think that is very likely. Yeah, there was no way to avoid that. You know, there are, like, so in Arlo's video, he, like, goes through and is like, you know, there are probably, like, 8 different Pikmin. Because, you know, he points out all these little things. And 8 different Pikmin makes sense. Actually watching it, yeah, there are 100. There are so many little background details with Pikmin just everywhere. You know, there are Pikmin, like, in the cabinets. Pikmin, you know, the ones under the crib are still there. But, you know, there are so many other Pikmin. They just leaned, like, oh my gosh, there are so many more Pikmin you don't see. Honestly, it's one of those shorts that you kind of gotta watch twice. Because the first time, you know, you're paying attention to the baby and whatnot. And then the second time, just pay attention to the background. There are so many things going on in the background. So many cute Pikmin doing cute Pikmin things. Honestly, when the short originally came out, it was like, okay, this is fine, you know, whatever. It's a little baby taking its first steps. It's whatever. Seeing it the second time with the Pikmin, yes, I am a Pikmin fan. Yes, I am biased towards Pikmin. But I definitely liked it a lot more with the Pikmin. The Pikmin are very charming. They add to the charm of the thing. Having the Pikmin there makes the bit more charming. Especially the ending where, you know, the baby, you know, takes its first steps, the mom hugs it, and then all the Pikmin bloom. That's really cute. I definitely think, yeah, the thing is way more charming now that you can see all the Pikmin. They did change the music, I think. I'll be honest, this isn't one I personally really noticed, but I saw other people saying this, so I'm just gonna assume that that was true. I'll be honest, I have not watched this thing. I watched it like twice on Wednesday, and was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then that was it. I haven't watched it since. I didn't really notice the music change, but yeah, unlike some other people, I haven't watched this 1,000 times. You know, I didn't do a reaction video to this. But yeah, I definitely do like it. You know, it's a little bit more charming watching it the second time. And yeah, I'm glad they added back in the Pikmin. That's cute. So what does this mean? What the fuck does this mean? Now, of course, there were some people, you know, myself included, who were like, oh, maybe this is Pikmin 5. Are they gonna start teasing Pikmin 5? Because the idea of basically taking like Chibi Robo style elements where you're walking around a world with humans in it, but you know, you're Pikmin and you have to avoid like being stepped on by the humans. Like, that's actually kind of sounds interesting. Like, I see the potential in that in a game. Because, well, yes, most Pikmin games take place in, like, a post-apocalyptic world where humans have gone extinct. If they want to set a Pikmin game in the current day, I think they can, and they would be able to get away with it. I'd have no problem with that. If they do it right, I actually feel like that could be very interesting. You know, that all the Pikmin enemies only you and the Pikmin can see. And they kind of put emphasis on, you know, you're working around the humans, but maybe you're also working around, like, the human schedule. It takes place entirely within a house. There are certain objects you can only get during the day. There are certain objects you can only get at night. If you're, like, trying to transport something back to your base, and you, like, pull it off like a counter, and then it's on the floor, by the time the next day starts, the humans will see it on the floor and pick it up and put it back on the counter. You know, stuff, or maybe the opposite, you know, maybe some of your, like, base locations are on the counter, and if you try to do some, you know, if you try to move it up there, the humans will take it and throw it off or something. So, something I grabbed earlier. I didn't say this. I grabbed when the NES Classic released, they included a controller that can connect to a Wiimote. And I was like, could I use this to play this game? I pulled it out at the beginning of the stream, and I just noticed it and was like, oh shit, I should try that right now. So I just plugged it in and it didn't work. But hey, it was a good idea. So yes, I feel like there is a lot of potential in a Pikmin 5 that, you know, exists around humans. I know some people will say, but what about the timeline? Not like the previous game didn't just reboot the entire franchise. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't give a shit about the Pikmin timeline. Like, I just don't... some people, you know, the same people who are obsessed with comic book continuity are very obsessed with Pikmin continuity, and I don't think any of it fucking matters. In fact, I'd go as so far as you could make the argument that basically every game after 2 is a reboot. Oh, but 3 seems to be a direct continuation. Yeah, it may seem like that, but actually, it's actually a full reboot. You just don't notice because of X, Y, and Z reason. I don't think it fucking matters. If they want to put Pikmin, humans, and Olimar, or, you know, new character, I am perfectly fine with that. I do not care. It's all about the gameplay. And if introducing humans makes the gameplay more interesting, then I am all for it. Honestly. So that was the first thought. Another thought people had was Pikmin movie. Is Nintendo making a Pikmin movie? I think they could. I think, you know, basically do a remake of Pikmin 1, shoot it like a war movie, which is all about, you know, Captain Olimar stranded on this planet, and now he's got his platoon of soldiers just trying to survive. I think it would work. Potentially, maybe. I don't know, it'd be dark for a Nintendo movie. But Pikmin, you know, has always been kind of dark, and they just don't say anything. So, we'll see. But it's not a Pikmin movie, so what actually is it? Well, we found out the next day, on Thursday. Nintendo put out a tweet that was... I'm just going to read the direct tweet. We hope you enjoyed the 2 Close to You videos released on October 7th and 8th. The second video is available on Nintendo Today, a free app available on your smart device. These are the first short films created by Nintendo Pictures Co., Ltd. Nintendo Pictures will continue to explore new creative possibilities through video content. Now, I know we talked about Nintendo Pictures a few weeks ago. Let me see. It's episode 35. Yeah, so Nintendo Pictures, if you do not remember, was the studio that Nintendo purchased back in 2022 that worked on Death Stranding 2. That's Nintendo Pictures, which is not to be confused with Nintendo Stars, which is which is the people who made the Kirby anime. Those are two different things. So that explains that. But yeah, so one important thing to note there is that while the original Close to You was uploaded onto YouTube and maybe Twitter and whatnot, the second version with the Pikmin was only on the app. And they actually started copyright striking people who re-uploaded the video onto YouTube and did not upload a YouTube version themselves. You know, this very much gives 2008 Nintendo the, we don't understand the internet Nintendo. Yeah, instead of, just putting this where everyone can see it, they only put it on their app. Whereas the original was available on everything, and they themselves uploaded it. I don't know what they were thinking. It's, again, people are mad that Nintendo's not being weird, so Nintendo sat down and did something fucking weird. And of course, people are going to be mad at that for different reasons. But to be fair, the reasons they're mad at this are more traditional. This is the kind of Nintendo shit I expect. Whereas, the other stuff Nintendo's been doing have been yeah, sure, Nintendo's always been greedy, but they're usually a little better at hiding it. So, yeah, this does imply that there will probably be more shorts in the future. Whether they're going to be Pikmin related or something else, we don't know. But I do fully expect that we will see more of something at some point. I think that would just make the most sense. But yeah, I thought this was cute. Very much, if you remember, actually Nintendo charged for these shorts. Back on the 3DS, they released 3 Pikmin shorts that you had to pay money for. Eventually they uploaded those for free on YouTube, which if you've never watched those Pikmin shorts on YouTube, there's a bottle one, a factory one, and I don't remember what the third one is. But if you have never watched those 3 Pikmin shorts, I do recommend them. They have a different vibe than this one. This one is definitely more cutesy, for sure. So they are a different vibe. But it's not a bad thing by any means. So yeah, I thought this was cute. I think the old Pikmin shorts are cute. And yeah, I just want more Pikmin. Man, it's Pikmin. Who doesn't love Pikmin? I know there are some people who don't love Pikmin. I know, but I am not one of them. And I would love a Pikmin 5. Yeah. The sooner the better. So, our next story is about indie games. So, this has been one of the biggest years in indie games ever. We had Expedition 33, which is an indie game. I mean, a small 30-person team. I'd find it hard for people to argue that's not an indie game. I can see I know some people said Baldur's Gate 3 is an indie game. I probably did at some point as well. Unlike Dave the Diver, which isn't an indie game, even though it very much looks like one. I don't know. What makes an indie game and what doesn't is complicated, but I would definitely say that Clara Expedition 33 counts as one. And then, of course, we had Silksong, which is one of the biggest releases of the year. And then we have Hades, which is the second best, or if not the best, reviewed game of the year. Hades 2. It's been a big year for indie games. And one of the ones I had personally been looking forward to, on top of all that, because there's a bunch of other, there's stuff like Blueprints and Baby Steps, and Skate Story got a release date of December 6th, and that's cool. But on top of all that stuff, one of the ones I had been looking forward to was Mina the Hollower. This is the new game by Yacht Club Games, makers of Shovel Knight, publishers of Cyber Shadow, and I legitimately think that's it. You know, they've published a bunch of it, like Shovel Knight Dig and Puzzle League, which I've never played Shovel Knight Dig, and I am awful at Puzzle League. Man, I've tried to get good, and I just can't. Well, their next game was coming out this month. Specifically, earlier during a Nintendo Direct, I think, it had gotten a Halloween release date. Which, you know, it's a Zelda-inspired kind of spooky game. Or it's got spooky... It's not spooky, but it's got spooky vibes. You know, it's using, like, gothic theming. So that makes sense. I had played the demo earlier in the year, so I was excited for this one. I've got my concerns, but overall, I'm excited for Mina the Hollower. Well, this week, I found out through their... Because I kickstarted this game. I found out through their Kickstarter, and then, you know, I got posted everywhere else, that they have decided to delay Mina the Hollower. The first thing they say is that it's not going to be a long delay. You know, this delay isn't going to last forever, but they just need more time. They did not give a new release date. They don't have one at the moment. You know, they don't want to go promising anything and then it just fall through. So what are they doing? Like, why delay it? What do they need more time for? Well, they put out what their crew is currently working on. They're finalizing designs, art and sound. They're working on game balancing. They're working on localization. Which, I mean, after Silksong's localization, I don't know if you heard about that, but, like, I guess the Chinese localization for Silksong was a fucking mess. Like, it was bad. So I get that. They're eating cheese, which I think is meant to be a joke. And then, finally, they're testing on all platforms. So, you know, maybe they found like a game-breaking bug on one of the platforms or on multiple platforms. And, you know, you never want to be in a Hellblade Senua's Saga situation. Senua's Sacrifice? Whichever one's the first one. So, yeah, those are all their reasons for delays. All very logical reasons for delaying. Right? If the game's just not ready, the game's not ready. It sucks, but that's just the way it is, I guess. You know, again, take as much time as they need. I'm not going to say the Miyamoto quote. That probably wasn't actually even said by Miyamoto. Regardless, you know, take as much time as you need. But breaks my heart. Breaks my heart. But I get it. I do get it. And yeah. So, you know, I definitely will check it out whenever it comes out. But for the moment, you know, we're just stuck with a delay. It'll happen when it happens. You know, I will definitely be there when it does. Hopefully, again, I'm not playing anything outside of this in Galaxy, which we'll talk about. I'm not playing anything else except for Silksong. I'm trying to put all my time into Silksong. Sure, again, Galaxy's taking up more of my time this week, but it's fucking Galaxy, man. So, yeah. But no, I'll play it whenever it comes out, hopefully. Maybe not immediately, but definitely before. It's definitely something I will get to before the end of the year. And yeah, you know, delays happen. So let's see, do I have any other miscellaneous news? Surprisingly this week, the Nintendo Alramo got an update. So, what surprised me is that when the Nintendo Alramo got its Animal Crossing update, I don't know, a few months ago, reading the, like, tweet they put out about it, it very much implied that the Animal Crossing update was going to be the last update. That Nintendo had no intentions of adding anything else to Alramo. Because, you know, you had the 5 basic themes it launched with: Splatoon, Zelda, Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Ring Fit Adventure, and Pikmin 4. Those were the 5 themes. Over time, They added a Mario theme for some reason. It might have been the anniversary, or it was probably Mario Day. They added a Mario theme at some point. They added a Pikmin theme at some point. Or, no, they added a Mario Kart. Mario Kart 8 got a theme. And then Animal Crossing got a theme. And yeah, when we got the Animal Crossing theme, they kind of implied that was going to be the last theme. But no, they put out this week, we got a Kirby theme. Specifically, Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. We got, you know, there's a car one, there's a Kirby serving lunch one, there's a few others. I looked, you know, I have an Alramo, so I looked through it. And yeah, I mean, I guess they're cute. It is Star-Crossed Worlds, so I guess this is our first Switch 2 theme. And it has two of the themes from Star-Crossed Worlds. And yeah, it's something I didn't expect to get an update. Alramo, you know, Nintendo put it out. I don't think it sold well. I mean, it was $100 fucking bucks. And Nintendo would be crazy to expect it to sell well. But it's one of those weird Nintendo, you know, I like when Nintendo is weird. It was a weird Nintendo decision. I like that. I've had an okay time with, you know, I used it for almost a year now. I want to say the Alramo originally released in like October. And so I've used one for almost a year. I don't know, let me look it up. Nintendo Alramo. Is it like better than like legitimately, I don't think it's any better than the clock you use on your phone. It launched yesterday. The Nintendo, as of yesterday, which is probably why we got this update, the Nintendo Alramo is officially 1 year old. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then for the general public, it launched on Mario Day, which is probably why we got that update. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense why we got that update. But yeah, they're still $100, you know, they're still expensive for, I don't know, I like the gimmick of it. I like that, oh, when you move, it like makes the sounds. That if you snooze it for 20 minutes, you know, it'll make crazy, you know, it'll like get more intense. It'll play, you know, it'll play the Guardian sound from Breath of the Wild if you make it wait 20 minutes. Which, that's like the most fear-inducing sound ever. So that's crazy. But actually, like, I'll be honest, it doesn't work half the time. Like, yeah, sometimes it'll start playing music, I get up, and it'll instantly turn off. You know, it'll work perfectly fine. Other times, I'll just be laying there in bed, like, it'll start playing music, and then like 10 seconds later, it'll just turn off. And then other times, I get up, and it like doesn't recognize that I got up, and it'll just keep going. And you know, maybe I have to like wave a hand in front of it. Sometimes, you know, depending on its positioning, it'll only recognize me like after I've left the room. It's very finicky. Like, the technology is like, it's not a camera, it's a motion sensor. The camera's not all there. With the I primarily use the Pikmin Bulborb theme, and you have to like fight a Bulborb just by like moving around or shaking your head. It's kind of cute. Again, it's cute. If you have a little kid who loves Nintendo, who's like a big Mario fan, they're gonna love it. As far as I'm aware, it hasn't ruined Nintendo music for me, because I know that was my big concern, is like, there's an old thing that's like, if you wake, you know, every morning, you should wake up to a song that you love to get you like ready to start the day. And that's just the easiest way to ruin a song for you. Because if you're waking up to a song you love, you're gonna associate that with, you know, the thing, something you hate, which is waking up. It's kind of like the same thing when you like experience like a death in the family or something. You shouldn't like do anything you love, because then that'll just forever associate that thing you love with, you know, that person's death. Like, that's Subnautica for me. I cannot play Subnautica, not because it's like scary, but because I played it around the time in my life when somebody important to me had died. and I will forever equate Subnautica with that. It's just kind of how it goes. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, listening to the Pikmin music doesn't, like, completely fuck me up. Like, when I, like, play... Because I did replay Pikmin 4 at some point in the past, like, few months. And I wasn't like, oh my gosh, you know, listening to, like, the day startup sound didn't, like, immediately trigger me. So, yeah. I think it's it's expensive. You know, Nintendo's a greedy company. But it's a fine product. If it was cheaper... And again, if you have kids, it'll be a great thing. Like, if I had had it as a kid, I would have loved it. As an adult, it's just kind of a thing I own. You know, I at least get use out of it, whereas, like, that stupid fucking talking flower, I will probably get a lot less use out of, even though I probably will, you know, also buy... I say I will probably also buy that, as if I'm not literally putting money away in my budget for that. Because, by the way, I've already started budgeting for that stupid fucking talking flower. I'm also I'm budgeting $100 for that. I hope it's not anything more than that. I hope it's a lot less than that. But I fully expect it to be like $100. So, yay, thanks, Nintendo. There's more money I have to put away for your stupid bullshit. Because I am addicted to you. I'm not looking forward to that DLC. I like Mario Wonder. That Bella Bell Park DLC literally does nothing for me. I wish they had just done legitimate DLC. Kind of like what they did with Kirby. I mean, I'm not going to act like the Kirby DLC was anything amazing, but at least it was like actual like new levels and whatnot. I really wish we had gotten I wish we had gotten an actual like Mario Wonder DLC instead of the bullshit we are getting. Man. But yeah, so I did put the Kirby, I put the car theme, which is, I think, just the first one. I put that on, and, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Man, 1 year of Alramo. I still have the fucker plugged in, so take that however you want. Any other news? That's all I can think of. I know there was other stuff. I know Kinda Funny celebrated their 200th episode of Games Daily. As I've said in the past, I'm a big fan of Kinda Funny. You know, for anything not Nintendo related, they're you know, them and like Wario 64 are like some of the first places I will go to for news. Admittedly, I didn't. So them doing a 200th episode, that's cool, you know. I'm glad we got 200th episode of Kinda Funny Games Daily. You know, here's to another 2,000 more. It reminds me of, like, you know, when we were talking last week about, you know, me doing this for 15 years. And I kind of made the point, like, oh, you know, we got to get to at least Rooster Teeth's age of 21. You know, they've got to get to however many, you know, they're gonna, 10,000 or whatever their goal is. I can't actually remember if they said. Aren't they doing their top 100 games this year? Is that a thing that's already been going on and I've just been missing it? Or is that something they're still going to do in the future? I don't know, I feel like that was a thing that should have already started, but I honestly cannot think of watching a single thing that was like, oh, here's, you know, the thing. I don't know. Oh, the Minecraft movie 2 got announced. Yeah, you know, with all this Comic-Con stuff. They announced they're making a second Minecraft movie. Alex is... They haven't given a cast, but it's probably gonna be... Is it Kate McKenna? The one... I think it's Kate McKenna. The fucking SNL lady, who... She was in the Ghostbusters, but I know a bunch of SNL ladies were in that Ghostbusters. McKinnon? Oh, that was a bad misspelling. Yeah, Kate McKinnon. Yeah, actress and comedian. That's my guess for Alex. I think that's who they want to play her. So we'll see if that shakes out. But Minecraft movie, I think it comes out like... I think it's got like a July something release date. Which is around the same time as, Superman. You know what I'm surprised isn't coming out this month? FNAF 2. Because I want to say the original FNAF movie came out like right around Halloween. And so I was fully expecting FNAF 2 to also be coming out. No, it doesn't come out until December. That's kind of disappointing. Yeah, Minecraft 2 is July 23rd, 2027. In Superman Man of Tomorrow movie. Okay, that's not the right... That's an animated one. That's not the one I'm looking for. Is July 9th. Okay, so it's earlier in the month. I was like, there's a distinct possibility they're both the same day. But yeah, I can't think of anything else. But yeah, no, a Minecraft 2 doesn't surprise me at all. Obvious, you know, and I've seen some people be like, oh, it's gonna make a, you know, a Minecraft, a $9 billion or whatever. Here's the thing. Most of the time when they do shit like this, the second one is never as successful as the first one. Specifically because the second one is trying to capitalize on the popularity of the first one. So in the process, you know, they go a little too far into meme culture. You know, kind of like that Minecraft meme-along version that they released. Like, they go a little too far with it, and it's just not funny. Like, it was only funny ironically. And once you take away the irony and you try to do it seriously, it just doesn't work anymore. So, yeah. So, I guess that takes us to WIBE. So, like I said, we got a Lego thing. We got no food. I don't have any food. We got 2 videos games. We got Galaxy, the Switch re-release. Because even though I literally replayed Galaxy earlier this year, I'm playing it again on the Switch. Even though I did play... I'm playing it on the Switch too. But even though we did play the Switch... You know, I played the 3D All-Stars version. Yes, I did buy the game again. Because, you know, fuck me. Why not? And, yeah, so we'll talk about that. We got Silksong. I haven't done much, but oh my gosh, ooh, am I angry? So we got that, and then we got movie. I watched the Batman. You know me. I do the ones I wanted. You know, the trilogies or the quadrilogies, and then we get to the other ones, and I'm just so fucking bad with it. I still haven't seen Man of Steel. You know, I said I was gonna do Man of Steel back in July, and now it's October, and I still haven't done Man of Steel. I just can't bring myself to, man. I just can't bring myself to do fucking Man of Steel. But I did watch the Batman. You know, I said I wanted to, and yeah, I did want to. Still haven't seen the Penguin. I do really, though, want to watch the Penguin now. And then I gotta watch Peacemaker, so I'll get around to all that. And then, we got Dungeon Crawler Carl. I've been working on the Eyes of the Bedlam Bride since, like, July-ish. The Eyes of the... Let's see. If I just look up the Eyes of the Bedlam Bride... That doesn't actually tell me anything. Really? Did I... When did I... Oh. Okay. I don't know why that happened. Was it really episode 20? Okay, we were doing Dungeon Crawler Carl. We started it, maybe episode 20? So here we are 20 episodes later and we're still working on it. Yeah, I guess I just haven't been including it in the fucking show notes. Let's see, let's try like a July show, like... Here's July 18th. Was I working on it then? No, this was when I did the this was when I did the zombies movies. This was... This was when Bonanza came out. Okay, I guess I just haven't been putting Dungeon Crawler Carl on these notes. Fuck me, I guess. Alright, so well, with that, we got, you know, I've been working on the Bedlam Bride since, like, July. And I finally finished it in October. I finished it, like, 2 days ago. And I've started The Inevitable Ruin, and I'm, like, 5 hours in. The Inevitable Ruin's, like, a 30-hour book. Yeah, like, 5 hours in. So, first thing, I guess let's talk about Lego. So, Nintendo, you know, a few years ago, they released a Lego NES. It's one of the best Lego sets, in my opinion. It's an NES, and it's got a little TV, and it literally has Mario playing on the TV. And you can, like, spin a wheel, and it literally, like, moves Mario on the track. It's one of the coolest Lego sets, in my opinion. I love it. It was a perfect thing. I think they did it for Mario's, like, 20th anniversary, or 35th anniversary, I mean. They did it, I want to say they did it for one of the anniversaries. That sounds right in my head. And I think that's really cool. And so now, here we are, you know, a little bit, 5 years later. And now, on top of a Lego NES, they made a Lego Game Boy. And it's a little Game Boy. You know, it's off, like, the NES was like a little NES. Like, it was a little bigger than the NES Classic, but it was still pretty small. Whereas the Game Boy is just actual Game Boy sized. It's an actual full-sized Game Boy. The buttons, you can press the buttons. They don't actually, like, work, but, you know, you can still press them. That's cool. And it's got a lenticulating screen, so you can't, like, actually, like, play a game on it. But it comes with 3 lenticular screens. One is the game, like, going down, like, the Game Boy logo going down, the Nintendo logo. One is the beach scene from Link's Awakening, and the other is Mario hitting a block from Super Mario Land. 3, you know, cute little scenes. I think I have the Zelda one put in my screen, because, as I've said in the past, Link's Awakening is one of my favorite Zelda games, so obviously I had to do that one. It comes with a little stand. It also has, you know, it has a stand for the cartridges, so when they're not at use. It's just a really cute little Lego set that technically, you know, it's nothing amazing. I think it's like $60, or at least I think that's what I paid for it. And yeah, I really like it. It was one of those things that I kind of had to get, because you know me, I love the game. The Game Boy, I technically consider the Game Boy Advance my first console, but my parents had Game Boys, and I used their, you know, I played Tetris. I played Super Mario Land. Didn't play Link's Awakening, didn't have that one. Instead, I had Metroid. I had Metroid 2. Which still, as an adult, still kind of blows me away I was able to beat that game as a kid. Yeah, I have very fond memories of the Game Boy. I would love for them to, you know, keep making these Nintendo consoles. If we get the Super Nintendo, if we get the Game Boy Advance, you know, they're doing Pokemon. That'd be so... I would love to have a Lego version of my purple Game Boy Advance. Oh my gosh. I would love that. I just love the Game Boy Advance, man. It's so important to me. And even though, you know, I had an SP, the original will always have a very special place in my heart. Oh, they cannot jump. So yeah, I built the Lego Game Boy while listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl. That's what kind of got me started up in this all again. And yeah, it was just a fun time. I had a good time building this cute little Lego Game Boy. Took me like an hour. It probably took me like an hour and a half, honestly. It probably took me a little longer than that. It's like a 500-piece set, but it's cute. It is very cute. I'm glad I built it. You know, I like these Lego Nintendo sets. They're all very expensive. God, again, we were talking about that Pikachu one, that Pokemon set. That that's like a $650 set. We did actually get some updates on that, by the way, the Lego Pokemon set. We got a first look at the Pikachu, unofficially, of course. Not the original, not the, like, $200 Pikachu, but the other Pikachu, which is, like, has, like, a place functionality with, like, a sensor brick in it. And it's very much reminds me of, like, the Lego Mario they did, where it's like a playable figure that just kind of looks weird. The Pikachu we've seen looks very weird. But I still do fully expect, like, playable Pikachu. I think the $200 set's Pikachu, and I want to say the $50 set's going to be Eevee? So the cheap set is going to... Or maybe it's backwards. Maybe the $200 set's Eevee and the $50 set's Pikachu. I'm not entirely sure. I don't entirely remember, but I saw somewhere that that's what that's going to be. I don't know. Man, how did I get so back into Legos? I don't know how that happened. Yeah, I was big on it as a kid, but I just gave them up when Minecraft came out. And now I barely play Minecraft. But, because, you know, I've put a few thousand hours into it. But I just can't, but, you know, Legos have just become the new thing. They're the new hotness. Again. I just love those plants, man. Those Lego botanical sets are so good. I guess they're making more happy plants, which I love the little happy plants. I love the blue one. The blue one is so cute. But they're done releasing botanicals this year. We got the pink roses, which is the last botanical, which, I mean, I already have the red roses. I'm not going to worry about the pink. And then that's it. We're kind of done with Lego botanicals for the rest of the year. And then in January, we're going to get like 4 sets. We also got a Batman logo. That looks really cool. But yeah, no, Lego Game Boy. I love it. Totally for me. Oh my gosh. So I guess let's talk about the first video games I've been playing, which is Super Mario Galaxy. So last week, Nintendo re-released Galaxy and Galaxy 2. And listen, I know the price point's bad. It should have definitely been $60 with $30 for each game. And even that's kind of cutting it, right? That's really expensive. But you know what? For me, even though I literally busted out the Wii just to replay Galaxy, even though that's technically not true because I had always planned on replaying this one in Kirby's Epic Yarn. Like, those were always... The second I decided I was bringing out the Wii, I was like, I'm doing more than just Galaxy. But yeah, I still bought this collection anyways. Even though I just replayed Galaxy and Galaxy 2, I still wanted the collection, because I know we played Galaxy 2. I'm gonna be totally honest, I kinda mentioned this last week, But let me reiterate, I do not like how Galaxy controls on the Wii. I honestly, having, you know, playing Galaxy again on Switch, having just played Galaxy 2, I think my biggest problem with the Wiimote is the controls. I don't like the Wiimote. I don't like the nunchuck. I don't think they're good controllers, and I don't like how these systems control. The games play so much better on Switch with an actual controller. Oh, but you have to recenter the, you know, the reticle every, like, 20 seconds. Yeah, sure, but that's so much... But having an actual fucking controller is infinitely better than using a Wiimote and nunchuck. The Wiimote and nunchuck are just bad controllers that I do not like using. I have absolutely no fun with the Wiimote and nunchuck. Like, using it right here in New Super Mario Bros. Is fine because we're holding it on its side. And on its side, it's basically just a fancier NES controller. But using it in a game like Galaxy or Skyward Sword fucking sucks. And never play Skyward Sword on the Wii. Always play Skyward Sword on the Switch. And then I'd say the same thing for Galaxy. Galaxy on the Wii is dead. Don't play Galaxy on the Wii. Play it on the Switch. It plays so much better on Switch. Oh my god. Doing it back to back, basically a week apart. It is so much better. Oh my gosh, is it so much better. And yeah, it looks a little better. I think that's all inconsequential stuff. I do think the Wii's graphics, you know, we're 480p. We're running on a GameCube here. We're not that special. And yeah, some of this doesn't look great. Like I mentioned last time, I actually do currently have this zoomed in. Because for some reason, it just naturally doesn't look right. So I actually had to zoom it in a little bit. I specifically have a setting in OBS just for the Wii that we made with Galaxy 2. Just because... And I don't know why it's at that weird unnatural angle. It's not a big deal, but, yeah. So yeah, other than that, playing Galaxy 2, I did 100% it. Well, okay, technically I didn't do the Luigi stuff. I could care less about the... If the game had started off with the ability to play as Luigi, I would have just done that. But no, instead I just played it, you know, as Mario. And guess what? It's still Mario Galaxy. It's still one of the greatest games of all time. No surprise here, I had a great time. 100%ing it, which is the main thing I'm going to talk about, because again, we played this on stream a few weeks ago. I mostly thought it was, you know, I had a good time with it still. There's a lot of fun things to be had, a lot of things to do. The ones that really sucked were the purple coin levels. The one I was dreading, the purple coin on Luigi in Toy Time Galaxy, I remember that being one of the hardest levels in the game. Playing it again, I did it on my, like, third try. It was not hard at all. But I'd still say that one actually excluded. I did not like most of the purple coin levels. They're just so slow. It takes so long to get so many of those purple coins. A lot of those levels just suck. The ones I hated the desert one. Because I missed one of the purple coins. And because of the limited camera angle, I struggled to tell which one I missed. The one I missed, by the way, was the one... there's a switch you have to hit near the end to, like, invert the platform. There's one on top of that switch that I missed. And I just, you know, because it's very high up in the level, I couldn't see it. So I had no idea I had missed it. That level took forever. Oh my god, I must have spent like 20 minutes on that level. Because I had to do it multiple times. You know, that one has quicksand, so if you die, you know, it's instant death and you gotta redo the whole level. That one fucking sucked. The lava, one of the last levels of the game, the lava level, that one sucked. That one took forever. One of the, I think it's like a ghost, like the Ghost Galaxy. There's one of them that really sucked. That I can't, I just remember it having like a gray background. But I couldn't tell you which one it was. I don't think it was, because I think the Ghost Galaxy is a Daredevil comic. Whatever it was, it sucked. The purple coin. I actually intentionally... So, when we played through Galaxy on stream, I got to a point where it's like, oh, you know, after you beat the bedroom, as long as you have enough stars, you can go beat the game. I got to the point where I had enough stars after beating the bedroom. So I just beat the game. Like, I hadn't even done the engine room or the top of the observatory. I did that after both those worlds after I beat the game, because I was like, oh, I might as well just beat the game now to unlock all the purple coin stuff. Was it Honey Hive? Did Honey Hive... Not Honey Hive, but like the autumn one. I think that one might have had purple coins. That one might have also sucked. Purple coins. I don't know, I'm Googling it right now. The purple coin levels are... Okay, that doesn't help. Oh, wait. I guess I didn't actually know. Wait. I didn't 100% Galaxy. I didn't do Grand Final Galaxy. Yeah, no, I didn't do Grand Final Galaxy. Oh shit, I guess I still have more to do. Does it tell me purple coin levels? No, it doesn't. It just says purple coin. Yeah, I'll say, whatever they are, the purple coin levels... Oh god, the summit! That's what it was. The same thing. I missed one. Early on in the level, there's 2 purple coins on pillars, and I got one, because one's like sitting on the pillar, the other one's a little bit higher up in the air. I missed that one, and I had to go I went all the way up the mountain, I had to go all the way back down. That was the one I was thinking of. Oh, the summit. Oh man, the summit also fucking sucks. So other than that, I had a great time with Mario Galaxy. I guess I didn't 100% it because I didn't do Grand Final. I guess I just forgot about that or missed it. I didn't have a problem with any of the motion control stuff. All the motion control levels were fine. But yeah, I enjoyed... I had a great time 100%ing Mario Galaxy. I honestly think it's an easy... Like, unlike Odyssey, where you have to get, like... 800 something moons. No, Galaxy's 120 stars. I think it's easy. It's way easier than... Well, it's way less tedious than Sunshine. It's easier than 64. I honestly, if you want to if you've never 100%ed a Mario game, I think Galaxy is like the perfect one to 100%. It's easier than the sequels. It's easier than 3D World. I still think it is very satisfying. Yeah, no, I would definitely recommend 100%ing Galaxy out of any of them, over Odyssey, over anything else. Not that because I've 100%ed Odyssey, I've 99%ed 3D World. Fun fact, I've never beaten the Grand Final Galaxy in 3D World. I've just never been able to beat it. And I've never even done the Grand Final Galaxy in Galaxy 2. I know there's like an ultimate challenge in Galaxy 2. I've never done it before. I've never 100%ed Galaxy 2. So hopefully on Switch this will be my first time doing it. I don't know, we'll kind of have to just wait and see. But other than that, you know, I enjoyed playing through Galaxy. It's still a fantastic game. And the entire time I was playing, all 120 stars, I was listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl. I couldn't tell you. I think I cannot remember if I beat Galaxy before or after I finished The Eyes of the Bedlam Bride. I want to say I beat the game before I finished the book. I think that sounds right, but I'm not actually 100% sure on that one. I'll be honest, it didn't take, at most, took me like 15 hours to 100% Galaxy. It was not long at all, and 15 hours is like an overestimate, probably. It's not a very long game, especially if you know what you're doing. But yeah, I had a good time. I had a good time with Galaxy. I think the Switch port, you know, the only weird thing is, and the 3D All-Stars port had the same problem, is that sometimes you'll be running and you'll just randomly start moving in a circle. No real rhyme or reason why. You just start moving in a circle, and it's kind of annoying, and it happens for no real good reason. It happened to me multiple times. Never when anything like important was going on, but it did still definitely happen. Gotcha. Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Galaxy. It is probably the best way to play that game. And there we go, I'm all out of water. Yeah, anything else? Oh, I did Rosalina's storybook. So when I played through Galaxy on stream, we didn't do Rosalina's storybook. I didn't really feel like we should have done that on stream. But I sat down and I was like, you know what? I haven't done this. They added a new, like, epilogue chapter where I'm pretty sure you get to see Rosalina playing the guitar, which, if you don't know, in the concept art book of Mario Odyssey, there's an image of, like, punk rock, not punk rock, I guess indie rock Rosalina, where it's, like, Rosalina in, like, street clothes playing a guitar. And yeah, they actually worked that into the new chapter of Galaxy, where you can see Rosalina playing guitar to all the Lumas. And then she kind of talks about, like, the next adventure and whatnot. Does that mean anything? I don't think so. I don't think that means anything special. It might, but it might not. But no, I did like Rosalina's storybook. Unlike most of Galaxy, I don't think is nostalgia. I think Galaxy is just a good game. Rosalina's storybook, though, is probably nostalgia, because it did make me very emotional, and I do very much think that that was a nostalgia thing. That it just, you know, it made me very nostalgic, because that's one of the things I love about Galaxy, is that it's one of the only Mario games to, like, have, like, an actual, like, lore and character and story. Most Mario game, you know, this one especially, is hero saves princess from dragon. That's it. Galaxy is also that, you know, you're the hero saving the princess from the dragon, but it goes just one step beyond by giving Rosalina, you know, this compelling backstory about her traveling the stars, and it's really good and it's really sweet, and, you know, it's sad. Like, did I cry? Maybe. It's good. It is good, and I definitely think that for the Galaxy movie, they have to make Rosalina the main character. Like, it's a Mario movie, but Rosalina should be the main character. Or at least Mario's the main character, but Rosalina's the protagonist. You have to start the movie with her, maybe end the movie with her. She's the one that matters. At least that's how I think about it. Shit, that's the secret flag. Ooh. And then, you know, after this, hopefully I'll start Galaxy 2. Which hopefully I like Galaxy 2 more than... Because, again, I think it was just a Wiimote thing. But I did not like Galaxy 2. I just didn't. Alright, I'm gonna... We got a cannon. And you know what? Fuck it. Let's take the cannon. Yeah, let me... So I'm gonna go get some water real quick. We're gonna hop in this cannon. I'm gonna go get some water. Because, yeah, this will just take us to World 8. And then we'll come back. And we'll talk about Silksong, Batman, and everything else. If I had to guess, we've got like an hour left. I think we'll be fine. Yeah, here we are, World 8. You know, the one thing that does suck is we skipped over Ludwig. Ludwig is like usually the best boss fight in any of these Mario games. So that does kind of suck to miss, but everything else is fine. Alright, let's hit it. Alright, let me go get some water. I'll be right back. You know what I like? So, you know, I've got my normal outfit that I've been using. And my Be Right Back has my old outfit. But then my stream starting soon has my fall outfit. Because I call the current outfit that I've been using for the is called winter. That's fall. And that's just, you know, normal, bland, boring, whatever. I don't really have a name for it. Alright. Let's save. And let's get back into it. So yeah, we probably got like another hour. Probably. I don't know, one of the worst levels I remember in this game is the bone roller coaster. And, well, you know, I don't know. That might be an optional level. I'm still very scared of it. I remember fucking hating the bone coaster. But it's been a while. Alright, let's talk about Silksong, shall we? So, I've been playing some Silksong, not that much, honestly. I'm at the point where I talked last time I beat the Cogwork Knights. The Cog Knights, whatever they were called. Clockwork Knights. I beat the two of them, and that unlocked an elevator. And the elevator was like, hey, you need these 3 songs in order to, you know, go up the elevator, in order to do something. And I was like, oh, okay, game. Go get the 3 songs. It's like the 3 Dreamers in the original game. At least that's my guess. So, it's like, okay, well, now you gotta find them. Oh, there's one basically straight up. Don't know how to get up there. There's one over to the left, and there's one over to the right. So I had started making my way over to the right. Because eventually I found a way. I eventually was like, oh, wait. Because I was going to the left for a while, and I found the bell tower. Or to the right, I mean. And then eventually I went back to the elevator, and was like, oh, yeah, I can go down here. And then from down, I went left. And that led me to an area that I think was called the Vault. Which, from the Vault, you know, I was able to go places. I went down to... It's called Biowater? Which is, like, basically this game, like, the Citadel sewer system. I went down there. I went to a few, like, Whitewash. That's not Whitewash. White something. You know, I've been a bunch of places under there. I still have not found... I'm pretty sure one of the Dreamers is either at the top of Biowater or at the bottom of the Vault. And I just haven't found them yet. But I was there for a while. And eventually, I got the ability to where you can, like, throw your needle forwards and then, like, zip to it. And you can use that to grab onto hooks. So I got that ability, and that was a cool get. So I got that, and there's, it pisses me, in like the area where I got it, there's like a chain that I was able to pull down with it, that I just cannot find. I really wish I wish I knew where the map person was, because I've already mentioned, like, I'm missing like a bunch of maps in like the lower levels, but I also didn't buy any of like the pens, so that way I can like mark important locations. So I have none of those. So I can't mark any important locations. And that kinda sucks. And I have no idea where the map lady is, because she just up and disappeared. And like, I know she's gonna come back as a boss fight at some point, but I haven't gotten there yet. I found the little bell kid, you know, there's the little kid that sings the song with the bell. They showed back up. The guy riding the bug showed back up. But not the map lady. Haven't seen him since, I don't know, probably in like 10, 15 hours. It's been a while, because I'm like 30 hours in. So I did that. Well, with that ability, I eventually found my way over to High Hall. And so I get over to High Hall, I make the... I forgot to grab the bench. Right next to where you climb up to High Hall, there's a bench, and I just missed it. And to run back... there's like these, like, there's these guys who have like violin string, like, things. I don't remember what they're called. And you have to fight like 5 of them. Just, you know, you have to fight 2 to get to the Cogworks, dancers. And you have to fight 3 to get from the Cogwork to the bell. So, you know, in order to get from one side to the other, you have to fight 5. There's some of my least favorite enemies to fight. They got a little bit easier now that I have the grapple thing, that's name I can't remember. But I eventually got there, climbed up the high halls, went back down the high halls, and now I'm at a place on the map. It's called the Forum. And the Forum is, I thought it was going to be a boss fight. It's just an enemy gauntlet. But it's the hardest enemy gauntlet in the game so far. There have been some awful enemy gauntlets, specifically the craws. The enemy gauntlet with all the craws in it was miserable. This one has taken me almost 2 hours. I think I'm like 2 hours in, and I still, oh my gosh. You just have to, you know, there's these like sword guys, flying sword guys, guys that throw little bells at you. There's one guy with a staff. Most of them I can deal with. You know, some of them suck to deal with. The ones that like steal your silk, that thing sucks. Speaking of things that, in bile water, there's an enemy where there's water. You know, it's bile water. And when you fall into the bile water, you get covered in like flukemar, and the flukemar drain your silk. And so you have to use your silk meter in order to get rid of the biles, and it doesn't heal you. It fucking sucks. Especially when you fall, once you know that, you like try to avoid it and you fall in by accident, and it fucking sucks. But yeah, so the guys who steal your silk, like, they're mainly annoying because they run away. That's the most annoying thing, is there are some enemies that just love to, that will like do like long range damage and run away. And while they get easier once you can like throw your needle into like pull yourself over to them, like a reverse scorpion, they get a little easier once you can do that, but they still suck. But all those guys would be awful to deal with. But there's one guy who, the whole gimmick of this guy is that he's a flying enemy that summons these little clockwork beetles. And he summons 3, and they kind of like rotate around him, and they just suck. This guy is very easily able to combo damage, because you don't really have invincibility frames. So it's like you get hit once, you can easily get hit like 2 or 3 more times. I eventually that the string attack can, you know, basically knock him down to 3 hits. So that's a little better. There's a trinket you can get that'll like summon like a flying ally. And I've started using that. I know most of the support allies in the original Hollow Knight were awful. You know, the thing you get for doing the Blood Carnival sucked. The spiders sucked. The little flying thing sucked. So I don't think this thing is actually good. But I've been using it just to get some easy damage, because this thing sucks. And there's 2 of them. You have to deal with 2 of them. And they're awful. And then after you beat them, you then have, well, what I thought was the boss, where it's like this guy cloaked in orange, and he's got like a staff that he can use to like do a line of explosions. He can slam it down on you. Or he can charge it up, and when he slams it down on you, it does like a massive explosion where he slams it. 3 attacks, he likes to run away, you know, he does his attack, and then he like runs backwards, sometimes. So he sucks, but after like a few attempts, I finally beat him. And I'm like, okay, that's it, that's the end of the gauntlet. That was halfway through. It kept fucking going. More enemy, you know, now it's like, okay, now we're gonna have to fight 2 of the flying guys. Now you're gonna have to fight, you know, 3 grounded guys. And then I know the end is 2 of the orange guys. And that's, oh my god, that just instantly killed me. I did it, I got into it, and I immediately died. Like, just on their first hit. The one that, there's another one where you have to fight, like, the flying enemy, the web stealer, and the beetle summoning guy, and I've made it past him once, and then just immediately died. I've been at this for like 2 hours. It's awful. This thing has given me more trouble than Last Judge. the final boss of Act 1. Yeah, no, this enemy gauntlet has given me more trouble. And that's kind of where I'm currently at. Once I beat that, I'm pretty sure I've got the first song, which I think it's the conductor one. But I've been stuck on it for a while. That was today for me. Today was just me, you know, finding the conductor's thing, the forum. And then just slamming my head against a pillar for multiple hours. It was not good. I was gonna make cookies today. I was gonna make some cookies. They were gonna be good, hopefully. I don't know, my last batch of cookies turned out awful. They were like, I don't want to say sandy, but they were dry for some reason. I don't know why. And hopefully I was gonna avoid that. And I just, oh my god, this boss fight. This, again, it's not even a boss fight, it's just an enemy gauntlet. But, yeah. And I'm gonna have to go back into Bilewater, and I don't have a map. Oh, I found an area called the Mist, which I think is like a Lost Forest, like a Zelda-style maze. But beats me. I spent like a few minutes in there, realized this was some sort of maze, and was like, nope, I'll deal with that later. And then I just left. It's got like these cool ghost enemies, but yeah. But, you know, I'm still enjoying Silksong. It's hard, man. It is very hard. It is Silksong after all. But I gotta beat it. I gotta beat it soon. Because I really do want to start playing Hades too. Luckily, I got a little bit more time because of the Mina, the Hollower delay, but not much. I forgot you could bump into those fireballs. So, that's all the games I've been playing. I don't think I really touched it. It's just been Galaxy and Silksong. And I've put... And, like, the moment I started playing Galaxy, that was all my time. I barely touched Silksong. And yes, I have been... While playing Silksong, I did listen to The Inevitable Ruin. Because by this point, I had finished Bedlam Bride. So I guess before we talk about both those books, let's talk about The Batman. So Matt Reeves' The Batman came out in like 2022, I think? It's been a few years. And originally, The Batman 2 was supposed to come out October 3rd. And it didn't. Obviously, it hasn't. In fact, I don't think it comes out for another, like, 2 years. It got delayed a bunch, you know. I guess, allegedly, the original script was not good. So they kind of basically had to rewrite the whole movie. I know that Penguin show is really good. I've heard some people say the Penguin show is like one of the best things Warner Brothers has ever done. And I don't doubt that. I've heard good things. But I'm excited for the Batman. My hope, because the Batman ends with the city being flooded. And I was like, oh, imagine, the movie takes place, it literally starts on Halloween. It is having never read The Long Halloween, I'm pretty sure this is an adaptation of the Long Halloween comic. So, fuck. The movie starting on Halloween is, a good hint at that. But, with the first movie starting off on Halloween, and I'm pretty sure the Penguin show takes place during the winter, but before we knew that, my hope was like, oh, have the next movie take place during the winter, the city's flooded, and now Mr. Freeze is trying to make it a world of ice. That was always my dream for the Batman 2. Of course, looking at what Matt Reeves does, I was like, oh no, he's just gonna do the fucking Court of Owls, isn't he? Can I be... the Court of Owls have never been in one of the, non-animated movies, but I am already so sick of them. I feel like the Court of Owls have just been everywheres. And I'm just so tired of them. And they've never been in one of these movies. And yet I already feel like I've seen so much of them. They were in all the comics, they were in all the games. I just feel like people really liked the idea of the Court of Owls. And they just were everywheres. And I'm just so tired of them. And I want something new. And I want one of these goddamn Batman movies to do something different. I get it. Matt Reeves is going for a very serious tone, and Mr. Freeze is a little bit more jokey, a little bit more comic booky, and that's why he doesn't want to use them. I get it. But I really think he should. I want some fucking Batman in my Batman movie. Excuse me that we keep making the same 4 comics over and over again. God forbid I want some actual Batman in my Batman movie. With that being said, you know, I gave the Nolan movies some criticism for being real good movies. You know, The Dark Knight's one of the best movies of all time, but it's not a good Batman movie. And I still more or less stand by that. Dark Knight Rises has the same problem, even though that movie's got plenty of other flaws. Matt Reeves' The Batman was kind of the exception, where I was like, oh no, Matt Reeves' Batman movie is a Batman movie. And I still more or less stand by that. It is definitely a Batman movie. You know, they're doing Batman Year 2, so he's a little bit more unexperienced. You know, he's still learning a lot of things. They're doing the long Halloween. I get that. And I do still like this movie. I definitely liked The Dark Knight more, obviously. But I do like Matt Reeves as the Batman. But I'm just... There's a certain aspect where every Batman just feels so... milquetoast? Not even milquetoast. I'm gonna say black coffee. Every Batman movie feels like black coffee. And I'm so fucking sick of it. Give me some spice. I'm not asking for like pumpkin spice. I don't need for some reason these comic book movie creators get this idea that, oh, if we're not doing black coffee, then we've got to do like Adam West Rainbow Frappuccino. And it's like, no, you don't. There's definitely a medium. I'm hopeful for James Gunn, but we'll see. And, you know, Megan Fox will be playing Toy Chica in the FNAF movie. I know damn well we all will be... You got a source for that one? Because I don't know. I mean, I could see it, but I don't... But until, you know, Pixar, it didn't happen. Twitter. All right, let me go on Twitter right now. I'm gonna fact check you. Because, I mean, Comic-Con's going on right now. Let's see. Is this actual discussing... I can't... You know, we can't check Blue's check marks anymore. Let's see. The reveal of Matt Pat as Toy Bonnie in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Killian Goff will be playing Toy Freddy. The right choice. You know, fair. And sure fucking enough... Megan Fox as Toy Chica. You know what? Fuck it. Why not? I'm just surprised this movie isn't coming out before Halloween. Why is this a December release date? That's so... I can't believe Matt Pat's Toy Bonnie. That's... Like, I get it. It's Matt Pat. He had a cameo in the previous movie. I still think that's dumb. Killing Goff is good, though. You know, literally, it was on one of the streaming services. I don't... No, definitely not. Definitely not. I think Matthew Lillard is great as Purple Guy William Afton. I think he does a great job. Because he's Matthew fucking Lillard, man. Hazbin Hotel. I've heard that Tron movie's awful. Matthew Bad. They could have him... You know, he may not be purple guy, but he could be the other purple guy. They could have Matt Pat be, Michael. That would fucking suck. That would suck so hard. Ooh, and Lee Pace as Thrag in Invincible. With a March release date. Oh shit, I didn't know that. Ooh, that's good. Hey! Yes, but also no. It really just depends on what movies you're watching, man. I mean, we got... That's such a boomer take. The best movies were... Yes, the best movies were from the age in which you were growing up. That's such a boomer take. You're the unk now. No, there are still plenty of good movies, but if you're only watching big budget studio shit, you're only gonna find big budget studio shit. At least we're not in the age of AI slop yet. At least we're not in the age of AI. Like, you know, you hear all the, like, this Tilly, they're trying to make an AI actress or whatever the fuck. Like, the age of AI slop is coming. But we're not there yet. You may be Gen Z, but that's still... You basically get grandfathered into the era that came right before you, you know? As a millennial, I got grandfathered into a bunch of, like, Gen X movies. Yes, it looks better. It's still AI slop. And I'm so sick of seeing that. Like, oh, here's a video of a cat getting arrested. Outside of saying I was born in a... All I will say is I was born in a year that begins with 19. I guess I did say I was, you know, closer to fail boat than I realized. I guess that's another hint at my age. Okay, so take a good guess from that. And I will not confirm it or deny it. And also, can I be honest? There's a Reddit... Okay. I know I'm going off track of Batman. I think we've got time. There's a subreddit that asks the question, when did decades end? And they raise the question that, like, hey, you know, a decade ends at, like, oh, you know, the 60s end at 96. But that's not really when the 60s ended. Let's be honest here. Culturally, the 60s don't really end until 63 when JFK gets assassinated. Same thing with, like, the 50s. The 50s don't... the 50s actually probably start in, like, 1946. Before the... You know, in, like, the... Yeah. Because decades don't end on good, clean lines. I would argue the 1990s don't end until 9/11. And I kind of feel the same way about generations. Like, the only generation that actually has, like, a number attached to them is the baby boomers. Because you can very clearly see from 1946 to 1965, people were having more babies. That's it. Every other generation, X, Y, Z, Alpha, Beta, I think, all that other shit's just made up. You know, it's just all based on baby boomers. The only generation that actually has, like, you know, the lost generation and the greatest generation. Those are the people who fought in World War I and World War II. Every other thing is just made up. So the idea of saying, like, oh yeah, you know, Gen Z is this 15-year period from 97 to... Come on. There we go. Is this 15-year period from, 97 to 2012. What the fuck happened in 2012 that distinctly marks the end of Gen Z? Nothing. Nothing happened in 2012. I could reasonably see the argument of Gen Z starts at 9/11. Because 9/11 is this big culturally significant moment where even if you were even if you were born on like September 10th, the world before then and the world after then is very different, even if you don't realize it. Meanwhile, what the fuck happened in the next, what happened in 2012 to make that generation distinction? Nothing. The world didn't end, I'll tell you that. I would say a much better delineator for the generations is COVID. Saying that, no, Gen Z goes from 9/11 to COVID. That's your distinction. And then Gen Alpha is basically everything born after COVID. I think that's a much better and accurate distinction. It's just... It doesn't matter. This is the Metroidvania argument. It doesn't fucking matter. But, people are still going to argue about it anyways, because even though it doesn't matter, some people very much give a shit about it. And they like to make it everybody else's problem. But yeah, like, if you want to argue the 90s start and, 87 and then don't end until, yeah. Again, I'd say 9/11 is when the 90s end. But yeah, no, there's a whole subreddit about it that, like, talks about this shit. I don't know. It's a whole thing. Okay, we're talking about the Batman. I gotta get back on track, because we also have a lot of book to talk about. So, with the Batman... You know what? Okay, so here's something I watched the Batman when it released in theaters. I saw it at the time, I liked it, and I haven't watched it since. I forgot how many villains were in this movie. This Batman, people always talk about Spider-Man 3 having too many villains. At 3 villains. This Batman movie has 4 villains. You have Catwoman, you have the Penguin, you have the Riddler, and you have Falcone. There are 4 villains in this Batman movie. That's a lot of villains, and yet I feel like they handle them all very well. To be fair, Catwoman is barely a villain, and, Falcone doesn't get introduced until like halfway through. The Riddler is mostly forgotten at one. Like, there's an entire chunk of the movie where the Riddler kind of gets forgotten about, and they just focus all on Falcone. Like, Falcone and the Penguin kind of become the antagonists for a while. To be fair, the Riddler causes all the problems. He's what sets things in motion. But yeah, the movies kind of forget about him for a little bit. But no, I think they do a good job at balancing things. I don't feel like, anything's completely neglected or anything. I like all the actors. Robert Pattinson is a great Batman. Does a fantastic job as Batman. And I'd like to see more of his Bruce Wayne. Because one of the things I did remember about this movie is that, very much Bruce Wayne as Batman thinks the only way to save the city is through him being Batman. But throughout the course of the movie, he kind of comes to the realization that no, Bruce Wayne also has to do good. That part of the reason the Riddler became a supervillain is because of Bruce Wayne's neglect. That, Thomas Wayne created this charity fund that was then taken by Falcone and all these other gangsters and the mayor and the DA, like, all these people were abusing the fund. And it's only because of, Bruce Wayne's negligence. And then the new mayor, whose name I don't remember, she wants to, start up the fund again. And, like, I kind of wish there was a part of this movie that was Bruce Wayne figuring out, like, oh, I need, you know, me doing stuff as Bruce Wayne is just as important as me doing stuff as Batman. Because I feel like in the modern era where, you know, Gotham is, like, magically cursed to be terrible forever, or whatever bullshit they came up with to keep making more comics, we kind of forget that, no, Bruce Wayne doing his social programs is equally important. And yeah, Bruce Wayne kind of learning the lesson in this movie. He doesn't fully get it, but I kind of hope that in the next one, he goes a little deeper into it. Obviously, that's where the whole Court of Owls thing can come in, is that the Court of Owls are, you know, trying to stop him. Because they want, you know, Gotham is cursed, or whatever bullshit. Also, the other thing, I completely forgot, Andy Serkis is Alfred. I honestly think all of these Alfreds have been good. You know, Michael Caine was fantastic in the Dark Knight movies. I think Jeremy Irons is in Batman v Superman, who I think he does a fine job there. And Andy Serkis, you know, Caesar in Gollum, does a pretty good job in this movie. I actually really liked him. I do feel bad for him in, like, because at the beginning of this movie, Bruce is so fucking mean to Alfred. It kind of reminds me of, like, Peter Parker pre-Uncle Ben dying. Like, if you listen to Peter Parker talk to Uncle Ben, he's such an asshole to him. And then once he dies, he realizes, like, oh god, I was such an asshole to my father. And the same thing basically happens in this movie. Bruce Wayne is being an asshole to Alfred, and then once Alfred, you know, gets exploded and barely survives, Bruce is like, oh god, I was such an asshole to my father figure. Because an important part of this movie that I had completely forgotten about is sins of the father. So there's been a lot of talk about should Robert Pattinson's Batman interact with David Cornsweet's Superman. I am firmly on the side of yes. Having just rewatched, you know, The Batman, I firmly believe that the two should interact. Because one of the themes in this movie is that Bruce Wayne, you know, he had this image of his parents that turns out to be a lie. You know, his father got a journalist killed. For, you know, originally Bruce thinks it's to, you know, for his political career. Later on, he learns it's for his mother, to, you know, help his mother. And then it's not even like he didn't even want the journalist to be killed. Falcone just killed him anyways to try to, like, get, you know, Thomas Wayne in his pocket. And then the night Thomas Wayne died was the night, you know, he said he was going to rat on Falcone to the police. I'll be honest, I 100% believe that Batman's origin should just be some random Joe Schmo killing him. Like, even the Joker movie got that right. That, like, yeah, it wasn't the Joker who killed Bruce Wayne's parents. It was some guy inspired by the Joker. Some random Joe Schmo. You know, or I guess Joe Chill. In this movie, right, they kind of imply that, you know, Falcone says Maroni did it. Alfred says that Falcone did it, but Alfred does kind of say that it could also just be anybody, and I think that's the right way to do it. The guy who kills Bruce Wayne's parents, Batman Begins got this, it's just some random guy. And don't even get me started on the whole Three Jokers thing. Ugh. But yeah, so this whole movie having a whole plot about the sins of the father, that Bruce Wayne's dad isn't perfect, reminded me a lot of the new Superman movie, which again had the exact same thing. Jor-El is not perfect. You know, Superman has this like, oh, Jor-El is this like idealized scientist, only to find out that no, he wanted Superman to come to Earth, conquer the planet, and have a harem of women. And well, sure, could that potentially be a lie from Brainiac or whatever in the next one? Totally that could be a thing. But for the moment, both movies deal with sins of the father. Now, is that potentially setting up a whole Martha thing? And if they do ever meet, yes. But to be fair, I don't hate Martha. I know for some people, Martha's like the worst thing in the world, and you know, it's the worst part of BVS. I don't even think Martha makes my like top 20 biggest problems with BVS. I don't like the Martha scene, but I get it. It serves its purpose. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. That's just me. So yeah, no, after seeing that one scene, I was like, these two should meet. David Cornsweet and Robert Pattinson should meet in a movie. I know James Gunn's doing his own Brave and the Bold. He's potentially going to have like a Damian Wayne thing. That might also be Court of Owls, because I want to say one of Damian's first stories was Court of Owls. So we'll see. But no, I can totally see Robert Pattinson and David Cornsweet meet. I think they would be perfect. Really, I do. And honestly, you could just, you know, Matt Reeves does his own movies, never connects them, and then just let James Gunn use the same actor and just use, like, parallel canon. You know, it wouldn't be that hard to be like, no, they're in a different universe, but, you know, we're just going to use the same actor and all the same plot points, but nothing we do in our movies affects his movies, and so on and so forth. I think it'd be fine. You know, as long as you don't make it, as long as you don't spend too much time explaining it, you know, just like a simple sentence, you'll be fine. I think. Let's see. Other things I really liked. I liked the interrogation scene. So we all know the interrogation scene from The Dark Knight. It's one of the most famous scenes in the movie. The interrogation scene in this movie is really good, because Batman walks into the Riddler, and the Riddler just is like, oh, I'm inspired by you, Batman. Or should I say, Bruce Wayne? And it's like oh shit, the Riddler knows who Batman is. And then as the conversation goes on, you realize, no, he doesn't. He doesn't know that Batman is Bruce Wayne. Instead, he's just talking about, like, Bruce Wayne, the one who got away. That was really good. That entire, just the slow build is so well done. Again, it's very apples and oranges to what's going on in The Dark Knight, but I did really like it. I think the tension is good. You know, once you realize he doesn't know that it's Bruce Wayne is Batman, and then Batman immediately turns on him. Again, Pixar, it didn't happen. But no, that entire moment was fantastic. The Riddler, I don't remember who they have playing him. I think he does a good job. It's definitely not, when I think of the Riddler, it's not at all who I think of the character. Like, they're very much going for like a Zodiac killer kind of thing. And it works well enough for the movie. I like how he's very much inspired by Batman. Like, he thinks him and Batman are working together. You do get that weird end scene with him and the Joker, which, if it wasn't for Matt Reeves coming out and saying the next movie will not be the Joker, you would assume, based on how this movie ends, that the next movie is going to be the War of Jokes and Riddles. Like, that's very obviously how this movie ends, setting that up. But no, Matt Reeves has already come out and said he's not doing that. He's not doing the Joker. Which, good. You know, I talk about all these other, like, how I feel like the Court of Owls is overused. The Joker's that, but, like, by 10. And then I talked about at the beginning how I think this is important for the movie to, you know, be a Batman movie. I like that doing year 1, year 2, he comes away from the conclusion that, you know, up until this point, he's been being Batman for vengeance. But by the end, he realizes, no, he can't just be vengeance. He needs to be hope, injustice, and truth. You know, because in the post Zack Snyder world, there are some people who only see Batman as vengeance. And that Batman is not vengeance. He's justice. There's a difference, and some people just miss that nuance. And that's kind of what put us in this shitty situation we are in now. Or at least we weren't, you know? I have hopes with everything going on with James Gunn. So I do like the ending. You know, the whole flooded city probably isn't gonna, from what I've heard from the Penguin, that's not gonna go anywheres. You know, the city's already cleaned up, you know. Sure, things are bad in Gotham and they'll probably be worse. But, like, we're not doing, you know, Mr. Freeze, we're not doing No Man's Land. And that kind of sucks. I would have loved to have seen some of that shit. Even though, to be fair, The Dark Knight Rises kind of did No Man's Land as well. So, we didn't need that story again, especially if you're not going to do some of the crazier villains because you're too scared. Anything else? You know, Catwoman is fantastic. The Penguin, oh my gosh. The car chase sequence with the Penguin is so good. It's a really good set piece. I forgot the whole Falcone was her dad. I forgot that plot twist. That was good. That's a good tense moment. And then when Batman cuts the power and he's just going through the hallway, only illuminated by the muzzle flash. Fantastic. So yeah, I liked the Batman. I really do. It's got some issues, but I still think it is very solid. And I'm interested in the second one, even though it's not for like another 2 years. I have more faith in it than I do anything Marvel's doing right now. God, I'm not looking forward to Secret Wars. Or, I mean, Doomsday. Like, I hope it's good, but you know, it'll be there when it is there. It really is just like, here's the thing. I listened to the Escape Pod, and the Escape Pod kind of makes it sound like everything wrong with the MCU comes from Multiverse of Madness. That if Multiverse of Madness had just been a good movie, everything would be fine. I disagree. I don't think fixing Multiverse of Madness fixes the MCU. I don't think Multiverse of Madness caused all the problems in the MCU. Because it's the rule of threes. Once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, but 3 times, that's a pattern. Multiverse of Madness was one bad movie. That means nothing. That could just be an accident. Then, Thor Love and Thunder being bad is 2 bad movies. But you know, could just be a coincidence. But then, Quantumania being bad, that's 3 times, that's a pattern. That's the moment the MCU was fucked. It wasn't Multiverse of Madness, it wasn't Love and Thunder, it was Quantumania. Anything else, you know, I think you can look past. Oh, the Eternals wasn't too well received. I think it was still fine. You know, Black Widow had its issues. Other movies had their issues. I really think it is those 3 that kind of fucked up everything. Oh my god. But yeah, we'll see. We're getting Comic-Con stuff, and you know, we got a new Marvel trailer for a show I may watch. I don't know. Wonder Man might be good. Alright, let's talk about Dungeon Crawler Carl. So, I started these books back in, like, May. There are 7 of them, as of this moment. I think there's going to be an 8th one, if not more. At the time, you know, I had heard a few good things about them. I picked them up back in May, and I read through the first book in, like, a week. The Dungeon Crawler Carl, the original. Then the second one, Doomsday Scenario, I read in like a week, in like late May, early June. The Dungeon Crawler Cookbook, I read in like a week. Whatever book 4 is, I can't remember the name, I read in like a week. Book 5, I read in like a week. You know, I went through all these books really quickly until you got to the Eyes of the Bedlam Bride. I started the Bedlam Bride in late June, early July, and it took me longer to get through the Bedlam Bride than it did every other book in the series. I just didn't... Like, I would say up until that point, each book was better than the last one. You know, the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook is better than Doomsday Scenario. Book 4, which for some reason I can't remember, was better. The title of was better than book, 3. They were getting better each book. But Bedlam Bride, Gate of the Feral Gods was, I think, 4. Gate of the Feral Gods was 4 or 5. I can't remember. I think it was 4. The Butcher's... Gate of the Feral Gods was 4, and Butcher's Masquerade was 5. Yeah, I would say they were getting better each book. But something about Bedlam Bride just didn't... I just didn't think it was as good. The scenario, I do think, was a good one. They're basically doing Yu-Gi-Oh!, but they're doing it on, like, a hologram of Earth. So, the creatures they find are, different creatures you would find on Earth. Including some other ones, like they find Jesus at one point, who has an Uzi. But, all the other creatures are, like chupacabras, these weird crab things. They find all sorts of other creatures.
Oh, no.
Just waiting. Yeah. I'm not even gonna touch Battlefield 6. That's gonna be a nightmare for a while. But yeah, so Bedlam Bride, I wanted to like it. And I didn't hate it, mind you. I just didn't like it as much as the other ones. It was a lot longer. It starts off kind of interesting, like they're in Cuba, and they're meeting like this cat girl, who at first you think like, oh, it's this cat girl who was like a nun at a prison. And the 2 people she's with were 2 of the prisoners. And then, plot twist, she was the prisoner because she murdered a bunch of people, and they were the prison guards. And she's got, like, this mind control power, and it's like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. And then she disappears, and she has, like, a schizophrenic episode, and shows up, like, once near the end, where they literally kill her in her sleep. Because of, other shit that happened. Some of the scenario, the whole card scenario just wasn't as interesting. I liked all the stuff with Carl and his dad, who they have, who the fuck plays Carl's dad? I can't remember if it's the guy who plays Bob on Bob's Burgers, or if it's the guy who's Joe Swanson. Assuming those are different people, which I think they are. I don't know, whoever it is, they have somebody famous playing Carl's dad, and like that definitely... Like, I'm like, okay, I recognize the voice. That kind of took me out of it a little bit. Just because I could only hear, even though I can't tell you which of the characters he plays, I could only hear, Archer. Let's see, Archer. Character. Yeah. I think H. John Benjamin plays Carl's dad. And that's all I could hear. Yeah, I think it's H. John Benjamin. I don't think it was I don't think it was Patrick. It might have been Patrick Warburton. I honestly don't remember. But all I could hear was like, oh, this is like a celebrity voice. But no, I do that. All the scenes with that's really interesting and good. But I don't know. I just didn't get into it. The whole Bedlam Bride thing I didn't like, because the Bedlam Bride's like a spider lady who ate her husband and has like serious trauma from that or something like that. And she's clearly like she gets picked up by Samantha and she's clearly playing Carl, but like Carl knows it. I do like things I did like. I do like the whole intrigue of like, hey, you know, why? There's this whole thing where they go to Florida, and while in Florida, they find this guy who is like repeating this code. Every day he says it in the hopes that Carl will hear it, and he's from like this group called the Apothecary, and their goal is to end the crawl. And it's like, okay, that's interesting. And then immediately that conversation gets cut off. Like he hears a little bit of it, and then it gets cut off, and it's like, oh yeah, that was all lies. Now, there have been, starting the Inevitable Ruin, we do actually get some, I don't want to say retcons for it, because it's not a retcon, but like the scene gets reframed, and I kind of wish we had just gotten that at the time. I understand why we didn't at the time, but I kind of wish we had gotten it anyways. But yeah, at the end, you know, you get some good moments. There's this whole thing where they have these keys, and they need the keys to get through the doors to go to the next level. But they end up losing the keys to Quan, and then they kill Quan and get his cloak. And then you find out, right, Quan had a ring that I want to say it's his... He mentions his daughter. And so I think that's, you know, what he cares about. That Quan didn't want to be a bad guy, but he just, you know, that's kind of how it ended up. The dungeon brings out the worst in people. They do a lot in some of the previous books, you know, Carl was going crazy because he had a ring that was like making him like bloodlust. And that really didn't come up in the Bedlam Bride. Like, yeah, no, it didn't really come. Again, there's more stuff with his like dad, and you have Alpha Carl. And, oh god, what was Princess Peanut Butter? Who was like a younger donut. The one thing I did find very interesting was the AI becomes not self-aware, but it takes control. This is the part I desperately need to reread. Was the moment the AI kind of becomes like self-aware and unleashes the Hydra, is like there's all this lore with like the mantises and the macro AIs and all this shit. And it's like, okay, I need to have a better understanding of it. It's kind of the thing, I wish I had been taking notes. Honestly, I really wish I had been taking notes. Because there are all these details that are, you know, brought up in like book 2 that now matter in like book 7. And I'm just like, you know, I'm listening to it, so I can't just like reread it. Sure, I could rewind a little bit, but it's a whole thing. I do own all these books physically as well, so maybe I should go back through and like bookmark some shit. But that whole there's that whole micro AI in that moment. There's the bit at the beginning of the 7th book where it's like, okay, that's kind of leaning more into that. You know, it's very clearly setting up that this is the last crawl. That one way or another, this is going to be the last crawl. That over thousands of years, people have been working on ending the crawl, and it's all kind of ending now. Now, does that mean, hey, when's the last book? I have no idea. If you had asked me before starting the Inevitable Ruin, I would have said we at least had like 3 more after the Inevitable Ruin. Or after, and again, I'm only like 5 hours in. I have no fucking idea. There's a part of me that feels like the Inevitable Ruin is the end of the book. But yeah, the Bedlam Bride ends with the Bedlam Bride. She literally fuses herself with Carl, and then there's this whole sweet potato thing that, like, she uses it to make ink, and then she can, like, implant her memories into Carl's mind. And at one point, they were very clearly trying, like, there's this, Rosalie is her name, and she was very clearly, like, trying to explain this to Carl, but through, like, code, and until the Bedlam Bride does it, it never gets brought up again. Like, Rosalie hints at Carl, like, hey, you have to do this thing, look at the book for this milk thing. And he just kind of forgets about it. It kind of doesn't get brought up again until the very end. And I kind of wish he had, like, investigated more into it. But yeah, no, that's kind of, and it ends with, you know, he like, cuts off Katya's arm, he steals Linai, he steals his eye and eats it. You know, the Bedlam Bride does all sorts of fucked up things as Carl. And then they do manage to, because Carl's whole thing is, you know, the 8th floor is designed to turn them against each other and to get them to kill each other. But Carl, you know, he uses his smarts and is like, oh, well, you know, if we just force everyone through the floor, we can you know, disregard all this key bullshit and get 30,000 people through to the next floor, where we can then take revenge on the people hosting these in the faction wars. Because they've been building up faction wars since, like, the first 20 chapters of the first book. And that's clearly what this next... And, you know, I'm happy we're finally paying that stuff off. You know, this is the slow burn. And so finally getting to faction wars, I am excited. But, you know, we've still got some more to do. You know, Faction Wars has only just started. And it's like I said, it's a 30-hour book for a reason. But no, I am excited for The Inevitable Ruin. So what has happened so far? So the book, The Inevitable Ruin, there's this whole conversation in the diner, you know, to reveal the secrets. You find out that no, there was more to that conversation than the previous book told us. That in fact, Carl got an interface that allows him to blow up the star. That he could force the sun to go supernova, kill the AI, and in theory, killing the AI would stop the crawl, at least for a few, you know, cycles. So that's an option of his. But, you know, he hasn't done it yet. And we don't know why. One of the things, the reason why I don't think this book is the last one, but it very much feels like the last one, is because every few chapters, we learn about the previous people who held the Dungeons Anarchist cookbook. You know, we start off with the second person to ever hold it, Tibbet, before getting hit, you know, before he shows up. Because, spoiler alert, a bunch of former crawlers have joined in the dungeon to get revenge. And to, you know, presumably end the crawl once and for all. Tibbet, Rosalie's there, there's a few other people who are there who, you know, were previous crawlers. And that's really cool. And yeah, every few chapters, you know, we're going from the second person. I think I'm at, like, 4? Because I found out where the title, The Inevitable Ruin, one of the people who owned the cookbook talks about how, in their homeworld, the inevitable ruin is despair. It's meaning that you're in the inevitable ruin when you get to a point where you have no hope. And usually it comes a lot earlier than you realize it. That's the inevitable ruin. And that came from, like, yeah, Cookbook Owner 4. And that was kind of the last thing I read. You know, they're getting ready for faction wars, they've set up bases, they're on one team, the NPCs are on another team, Louis and Juicebox got married, the cat, Ferdinand, is also there, Gravy Boat, and he's a fucking dickhead. But they trade a fedora for the town. They get the Odd Jobs fedora from GoldenEye, and yeah, they trade that for control of the town. Louis got an airship, and yeah, they're just getting ready for war. And you know, they mention that war can start early, so I guarantee you war is going to start early. I don't know how, but I guarantee you, yeah, war is going to start early. That's going to be a thing. There's a few other things they've brought up that where it's like, okay, obviously this is being set up to pay off later in the book. Like, you know, that whole thing with him blowing up the sun. I'm sure there are other examples. But yes, I am interested. Like I said, I put 5 hours into it just today. But yeah, I just didn't like the Bedlam Bride. I didn't hate it by any means. It's just, it was the weakest book. And it was a real struggle to get through it. Because I probably, you know, when I started reading it, I did like 14 hours. And then, you know, doing the next, like, 12. Maybe I did 12 and then I did 14 later. I don't know, because I think it was like 26 hours and now the new one's 28. Just been a lot. It's... Oh, poor Luigi. But no, I am what I've read so far of The Inevitable Ruin. Yeah, the fact that we're getting each of the cookbook owners very much makes this feel like it's the final book. Like, you know, we're setting up for this big event that, you know, Faction War is going to end with everybody dead. You know, The Inevitable Ruin. And we'll see. We'll see how that all plays out. Oh, yeah. Was this the first Mario game to have playable credits? Because I know Galaxy 2 has playable credits, and I guess if you die during the playable credits in Galaxy 2, the game crashes on the Switch, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, I would not be surprised if this was one of the first Nintendo games to have playable credits. But yeah, so yeah, I'm going to keep reading The Inevitable Ruin. You know, there's still a lot more book to go. Miscellaneous thoughts on this game? I liked this game. It gets a bad rap because Nintendo made 4 of them in a row. And you know, I feel like because this one was only on the Wii, to be fair, the Wii sold 150 million units or what? Okay, not 150 million, but it sold a lot of units. Probably like 120. The Wii did very well. I know the 3DS did like half that. The DS did, you know, 140 something, 150. DS did a lot as well. But for some reason, I feel like this one is talked about the least. Like, Deluxe is probably the most unoriginal, but people talk about it way more because it was both on Wii U and Switch. And, you know, 2 doesn't get talked about a lot, but 2 had its gimmick. Which I like its gimmick. I kind of want to play 2 again. And DS is actually good. Like, all the unoriginality that the new Super Mario Bros. Games gets accused of, this game doesn't have. The original DS one doesn't have. The DS games have a lot of creativity, a lot of unique bosses, a lot of fun ideas that the later games just kind of don't have. The DS game gets a bad rap. But it's actually, like, it restarted the series for a reason. Like, that's all very intentional. But yeah, no, I had a good time. We did skip World 7, which, okay, we skipped like half of World 7. It's no big deal. And I don't plan on going back. Because the only one of these I have actually ever 100%ed is Deluxe. I 100%ed Deluxe on Switch. Maybe I should give that one another. I don't know. Do I really want to give that one another shot? The ones I really need to play is 3. It's been so long since I've done 3. But I've already said the next one we're doing is Kirby's Epic Yarn. Because fuck it, why not? I don't know what's going to happen after that. Admittedly, I have no idea. Maybe we'll do Hollow Knight. Fuck it, I'll play Hollow Knight for a 3rd time. Hey, Shiggy. And Awada. Truly great. But yeah, I think that takes us to our outro. What's coming in? Like I said, next week we're going to do Epic Yarn. I'm going to try to watch Man of Steel. I'm really going to try to watch Man of Steel. I'd also love to start The Penguin. We'll see. Yeah. Oh, I didn't talk about the Savannah Bananas. I don't know how to feel about them. Because if you didn't read the news, there's this whole thing with their charity where basically they were kind of like doubling up on their charity and paying themselves. And it's kind of fucked up. So, they announced 2 new teams, the Loco Beach Coconuts and the Indianapolis Clowns. And it's like, okay, they announced a bunch of new games. They're going to be playing here in El Paso, the Tailgaters. And I might put in, but I also might not. I don't know. But it was something I was thinking about, because that was yesterday. I don't know, I'll think about it. But yeah, we'll be back next week with more, in chat. We've got only 11 episodes left in the season. It'll be here like that. But that's where we're going to end off for tonight. So I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Till next time, Peace.